Rising has created some of the greatest fighters over the years. Wait, what? I thought Rising only created shooters and other random offshoot arcade games. Nope. Turns out that after the 90s, Rising pretty much gave up the shooter genre and focused more on fighting games for the majority. Now, while most of their releases are not super well known, they do happen to have a few gems here and there that they produced over the years on multiple consoles. This was mostly due to the merger of the two companies, as before they joined forces, Rising had all the shooters. Afterwards, mostly fighters, including Castlevania Judgment, oh hell no! And Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Way back in the 90s, particularly around the time I was in high school, and I was an owner of the original PlayStation, I happened upon a game in the local rental store. It seemed like an interesting title, what with the cover art and whatnot. Keep in mind that back then, going on just the PS1 cover art for a game was a total gamble. You never knew what the hell kind of game you were going to play, or what you were in for just based on the outside of the CD case. Case in point, 1997's Bloody Roar. During this time frame, the PlayStation was getting tremendous backing based on the games being released for it, and all the game companies were jumping on the bandwagon. Out were the old 2D fighting powerhouses of yesterday, and in their place, newer 3D polygonal-based fighting games. Games like the mega popular Virtua Fighter series, Dead or Alive, and not trying to contradict what I just said, but Street Fighter did eventually make the jump as well. But let's stay on track. Bloody Roar to me is one of those games that when somebody brings it up in discussion, or just when thinking back to the late 90s, it brings back such good memories. It didn't have quite the widespread coverage as other games of the day, but it's surprising to me how many people have played it. It became such a favorite of mine that I rented it on multiple occasions, just because it was so enjoyable. So you load the game and you're treated to the intro. A lot of PS1 games back then had these, because I think a lot of the games companies really wanted to show what they could do with this new hardware. It shows all the characters, and kinda where they come from, much like Soul Blade, really gets the energy across. The storyline is simplistic enough. A company, Tylon, is using human hostages as experiments in their, quote, zoanthropes project, creating animal-human hybrids for the purposes of advancing military superiority. Two such hybrids, Yugo and Gato, team up to take down the evil company. Yeah, pretty simple, but enough of that. Let's get down to the shit. You have the ability to select a few different play modes from the start screen, including the standard arcade mode, along with versus, time attack, survival, and practice. Although there isn't technically a story mode, playing through arcade mode will show a somewhat story-type ending to each character. Speaking of which, there are 8 fighters to choose from. Each one has their own strengths and weaknesses, and each one transforms into a different animal, including a boar, rabbit, fox, wolf, and a mole. My favorite is Long, since he turns into a tiger, and his attacks are fun to do. The characters themselves are actually quite well done for the time. Not as stiff as, say, the Virtua Fighter series. The attacks are fluid, as are a decent amount of movements. The fighting arena itself is just an open space with 4 walls. One of the main differences between Bloody Roar and other fighters is that the walls are destructible, and if the player is knocked outside of the arena, the match ends, as opposed to others where the fight just continues on a different level. So that can come in handy if a certain character or player is giving you a hard time. Just knock their ass out of the ring. The attacks are animated well, and some of them hit quite fucking hard too. If connected, I believe it's the back plus punch button attack that will send the opponent rocketing to the opposite side of the arena, and if they're up against a wall, it's an easy way to smash it down. The controls are also simple. A single punch and kick button, plus your transformation button. Yep, no jump button. That's part of doing a move. You fight your way through each of the 8 fighters and end up fighting Uriko, who looks like some kind of little girl who transforms into some kind of cybernetic woman, but her beast form is this giant demon from hell, I guess. While all the other fights in the game are decent in terms of challenge, the final fight is a real pain in the ass. She has a varied amount of attacks, and it's hard sometimes to land a blow. The easiest way I found in beating her is just to knock her out of the ring. You finish her off, and it's the end of the game. Depending on which character you beat the game with, as with almost all fighters, you're given a short epilogue to each character's story. Then, we get to, what I feel, is the best part about this game so far. The ending credits! I'm seriously not joking when I say that Bloody Roar, to me, has one of the best, if not the best, ending credits sequence in any game ever. It plays small video clips in the background of each character doing special moves over some kick-ass music. And this is what I remember most about my time growing up, playing this game, the credits sequence. It's so much fun! There are a variety of game options, allowing the player to change all sorts of things. Big Head is my favorite. Speaking of the music lastly, it's awesome. Full of rocking guitars and other instruments, it's very well done. Overall, Bloody Roar is one of those games that you took a chance on back in the video store days, and it turned out to be a pretty fun game. Does it really stand up today? I think so. It doesn't look too bad, and it's still a blast to play. It has 3 sequels, and as in the first game, Hudson Soft handles the home releases. The second game was also released on the PS1, and while I played it, it wasn't as good as the original. The other 2 games, Bloody Roar 3 and 4, were released on the PS2, and I've never played them, so I can't comment on them. I always thought the series ended with the third game, but I was wrong. If you're looking for some older school fighting games, especially on the PS1, give Bloody Roar a try. You'll probably have just as much fun as I have. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Go check it out. Don't forget to check out my Twitch account for live shoot 'em up action, my real-time playthrough videos, MAME Mondays, and other fun gaming videos as well.